My name's Amanda Sawyer, and I am the new City Councilwoman for District 5.
For those who don't know District 5, give me a little background. What is District 5?
So District 5 is central East Denver. So it is bordered to the north, Colfax, to the west, Colorado Boulevard, to the east, the Aurora border, and then to the south, Mississippi and Havana. Mississippi and Tennessee.
That's a pretty diverse area.
It is, very.
And Colfax cuts right down the middle of it. Colfax has been in the news a lot lately.
Yes.
That's a daunting task to take on what's going on in Colfax.
There's a lot going on up there. I mean, there are just bordering in our district alone. Colfax Avenue is four neighborhood organizations, 2 business improvement districts. Dura is looking in and going in there. There's some other, the East Area Plan is coming, is in the process of being developed right now, and there's all kinds of opportunity going on up there. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next 4 years.
It's a pretty diverse community, a lot of immigrants in the community. I mean, you're balancing lower incomes to a little bit more affluent, again, with Colfax. That wasn't a challenge to you, or what kind of challenge is that going to be for you to deal with different interests, really?
It's a great question, because there is such diversity in District 5 in age, in income, in economic opportunity, in education. And so it is a little bit challenging to manage all of the different desires and needs of all of the different neighborhoods of District 5. But at the end of the day, we are all Denverites. We are all people living in the same city. We all want to be able to afford to live here. We all want to be able to have a safe, clean, way to get to our job. We all want to have a job. And so, while the unique needs of the neighborhoods might be a little bit different based on the demographics, at the end of the day, there are these big overarching themes that are important to all of us. And I think that's what really matters and what really resonated with the voters.
Kind of a good segue into my first real question.
Yeah.
You represent a certain district, but you also represent Denver.
That's exactly right.
How do those two kind of jive, or maybe not?
Well, I think District 5 having some of the, most affluent residents of Denver and some of the least affluent residents of Denver it's like a little microcosm of the city of Denver as a whole. And so that's great in that it gives us an opportunity to really understand from a leadership perspective the challenges of the everyday people living in our city and figuring out creative solutions for how to help them.
And a future for Denver as a whole. You came into this obviously with grand ideas, or hopefully with grand ideas. Where do you see the future of Denver? What do you envision?
I got into this because I've got 3 little kids, and I want, to make sure that Denver is an amazing place for them to grow up, for them to return home to after they go do whatever it is that they're going to do next. And I think that's what every parent feels. That's what we want for our kids. And so, that's my vision of Denver, is a place that is equitable, that is affordable, certainly more affordable than it is now for most of our community. And those are big challenges that we're going to face, but I think it's a really incredible opportunity to make some of these changes, to be a part of these conversations. And I'm really looking forward to that.
And then just kind of focus it down to your district. We've already talked about Colfax. I mean, everybody seems to have their challenges. We have the stadium district in one of the new councilmen's.
Yep.
That challenge of that, the South Platte redevelopment, all these things. And you got Colfax. Colfax has a little bit of a history, shall we say?
Yep.
And it kind of gets lumped into the areas, the areas surrounding Colfax kind of get lumped into that stereotype.
Yeah.
Tell me about your district and where you see that kind of changing.
Yeah, like I said, I think that Colfax presents an incredible opportunity for us because it is sort of this traditionally funky place that has struggled. It has this very unique character, but it also has some incredible things that it provides to residents, particularly in our immigrant community and low-income residents, in terms of shelter and in terms of sort of a different especially out far east, out by Yosemite in the East Colfax neighborhood. So it's a microcosm, like I said, of a very broad issue that we're facing. And I think, the East Area Plan that is going to be a part of sort of determining what Colfax looks like for the next 20 to 30 years is going to be it's been a great process so far. They're working on, making sure that they're being incredibly inclusive of all of the different communities, and we're trying to get out as much information as we can to the community that it's happening, that it's time for feedback, that be a part of the conversation. This is an opportunity to really shape on a very granular level what your neighborhood is going to look like for the next, into the next 50 years. And so, just making sure that we are being representative of all of the different communities and all of the different income levels and all of the different people who make up Colfax is really important. And, as a city, I think we recognize that we want to keep that character, but also provide more opportunity, more transportation, more housing, more of all of those things, more small businesses, more local businesses. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that shapes up and being a part of the conversation.
Colorado, Denver has this grand tradition of collaboration. We don't see that too much anymore, at least in other areas.
It's kind of a shame.
Kind of a shame. That tradition is very strong here. Things seem to get done because people are willing to compromise. How important is that to you, first of all?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think that's
collaborating with your fellow councilmen, but even the mayor.
Yeah, it's so funny. At the end of the day, right, the campaign was a tough campaign. The runoff was a tough runoff. Emotionally, physically, mentally, campaigning is a very hard process. But the campaign is over, and it's time for us to move forward as a city. It's time for us to come together, figure out ways to create relationships, to work together, to find some compromise, because we all want the same thing, which is to make sure that Denver remains an amazing place to live. And the question is, how do we get there? And that might differ, those visions might differ a little bit, but we all have the same overarching goal. And so, we need to get in there and figure out how the council as a 13-person body works together to get those 7 or 9 or 10, depending on the issue, votes, how that looks in working in collaboration with the mayor's office and all of the different personalities that are involved there. So it's gonna be an interesting but fun time in this next, few years.
Outside of the chamber here, again, using Colfax as kind of our little metaphor, one side of Colfax has a certain set of ideals or needs, the other side has something different. Do you look at yourself as maybe a referee of sorts to try and bring those two different visions together?
That's a great question. I don't look at myself as a referee of bringing those sides together. I look at myself as being a connector. Being the person who is able to hear from a business owner, hear from a developer, hear from a resident, hear from the city planners, hear from all of these different neighborhood organizations, and be able to, in whatever way possible, facilitate conversations between them. And that's not an easy task, and it's not always pretty conversations. Right? But they're necessary. They are absolutely going to be required in order for us to get this done in a way that is collaborative and makes sense for, for everyone that lives there. And not everyone is going to be happy. In fact, in some ways, I think maybe no one is going to be happy sometimes. And as unfortunate as that is, it is also sort of representative of the fact that there is a collaboration going on there, because then, everyone has given a little bit, and what we've come up with in the end is hopefully something that is, going to be really representative of the whole and be, like I said, a fantastic opportunity to create and shape Colfax in particular for the next 50 years.
We had this strange bellwether of judging elected officials in their first 100 days.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Let's fast forward.
100 days.
A couple months from now,
okay.
100 days in, we're talking, what are you going to say you're most proud of and all that you've been able to achieve, or what do we really need to continue working on for the next 100 days?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because council continues, right? There was a council meeting with the old council on Monday night, and we are inaugurated at 10 a.m. on Monday morning, and our first meeting is Monday night. So it's not like at the State House where there is this separation in time and space where there's a beginning and an end. So I don't necessarily think that a 100-day plan is valuable in this position. What I'm really looking forward to doing is getting in there, meeting the different people, seeing the different personalities, figuring out where I can add value, where I can bring some leadership, where I might want to challenge some things, and go from there. And that's going to take time. And I don't think, a reasonable expectation of a first 100 days it doesn't really fit the model of the way our city council works.
Does that also come a little bit from the fact that you don't have any experience in politics or activism, and so your outlook towards it is maybe a little different?
Maybe. It's possible because, I'm just, a resident of Denver. I was driven to run when I found out about a development up the street from my house, and when I started asking questions about what that looked like, I didn't, I wasn't happy with what I found. And I wanted to be the change that I wanted to see in our community. And that message resonated with the voters, and here I am, which is kind of amazing. I'm very grateful for all of that support and for the opportunity that I've been given to represent District 5. It is fair to say that you're right. I don't have the political background. I don't have the political knowledge of kind of how that side of things works. As an attorney, I obviously understand the legislative process, and I obviously understand, how to write bills and read bills, and my gosh, there's a whole central staff that is fantastic about helping with research and actually, pulling all of those kinds of things together. So, is it that my 100-day plan doesn't exist because I'm new at this? Maybe, but it also, in the same vein, is because that's just not really who I am. I'm much more of a person who wants to just get in there, see what it looks like, and then, see where I can kind of make the changes that I'm hoping to make or lead where I'm hoping to lead.
And that kind of leads me to my last thought, and this is more of an impression from you. You're going into, you've been going through council classes and all this stuff, like you said, learning how to write bills,
it's like drinking water from a fire hose,
Next Monday, less than a week away, you get to sit in the big chair.
Yes. I'm a little nervous, I have to be honest. It's intimidating to be up there. I don't know if you've ever spoken at council. I've done it before, but it is very intimidating to stand up in front of, a community of people and speak. So my hat's off to every single person who ever gets up there and talks at council. But it's such a valuable resource, so I'm looking forward to Monday, but I'm a little nervous.
Have you been able to get any sort of feedback or counsel, I guess, from some of the senior members like Debbie or things like that?
Yes.
What do they tell you?
All of the members who are moving forward with our group, is it 7 of them? 8 of them? 8 of them.
8, yeah.
Have been fantastic. They've all reached out, they've all been valuable resources, they've all offered mentorship and advice, and I think that is so cool and so important, and I think it is very indicative of the culture of City Council, and all of them say the same thing. We can disagree, but we all have to work together, right? We can disagree with the idea, but it's not about the person. We have to find a way to kind of come together and move as a body, because you've got to have your 7 votes or 9 or 10 in order to get anything done. So they have been wonderful about offering that kind of advice and being available and being supportive, recognizing and remembering what I think it was like for them when they came in for the first time.
Because the bottom line is you're representing one district, but as we talked about, you're representing
city.
all of Denver, so you can't go off on your own.
No, there's no going rogue here, right? There's no going rogue here. There is a community of 13 people, 11 of whom represent districts and 2 who represent the city as a whole. And, figuring out how that works together is going to be kind of an exciting thing, seeing how each of those unique personalities and each of the challenges that our districts face and that the city as a whole faces, and figuring out how that's going to work together to move our city forward, to bring these kinds of the kind of progress that I think we all agree we need. It's going to be interesting, but it's going to be fun.